reason. Are you sticking with me or with Mr. Walter?
This is more than a walk around the neighborhood. These grade 3 students at St. Joseph's Alexander McKay Elementary are visiting sites that were devastated 100 years ago in the Halifax Explosion. Teacher Emily Johnson.
Because our kids live in the community where it happened, their sort of natural curiosity really drove the project. So we've been doing some writing around the explosion, some artwork around the explosion, and then trying to teach them about what our community looked like before and how the explosion shaped what our community looks like now.
You guys were here the other day making...
It all started with ceramic artist Andrea Pushkar's idea for a commemorative mural. Some basic funding came from the Halifax Explosion Committee.
It's a way for them to learn through doing, so they've learned all of the, they've read about it, they've done lots of research on the internet, but now it's a chance for them to sort of solidify that learning by actually physically doing something and making a piece of art. You know what you could also look up? You could look up Mont Blanc and you could look up emo, and then you could just do sculptures of the two of them.
Grade 6 student Zaria Upshaw Paris has a family connection to the explosion.
It's a crazy thing because my grandmother's mom, she was in the Halifax Explosion when it happened and stuff. That's why she didn't get hurt, because she was up like by Needham and stuff. So let me have pictures of it and stuff and when I first heard about it kind of made me cry because I hope I talked to my grandmother before she died and stuff about it.
And there's lots of stories of people smelling burning sugar or the neighborhood smelling like sugar just before when the Halifax explosion had happened. So people have memories of it smelling sweet and like sugar because of the sugar refinery. So this building that was here, is it still here? No, and this is an example of an industry or a place where people worked in this neighborhood that is no longer a place where people work.
The explosion changed the community because it created new buildings. When the explosion happened, it took down a lot of buildings and new buildings were built.
A lot of buildings were destroyed, and I know that kids at school were safer than kids at home because the schools were built out of stone or brick.
The St. Joseph's Alexander McKay students have spent weeks researching the explosion. What they learned has made a lasting impression. Grade 6 students Nailah Cadougan and Brooklyn Goree.
I learned in class that the Halifax explosion wrecked many people's lives and houses, and many people lost their families and were left alone.
I think the Halifax explosion is pretty scary. If I was in the Halifax explosion, I just hope I was in a different place, because my teacher said in Truro they could hear the explosion. It was that loud and it was that far.
A particular effort has been made to talk about African Nova Scotian and Mi'kmaq communities. Natasha Lehman now feels a deeper connection to her community.
I think that Mulgrave Park and the community of Needham and stuff in Africville played a large part of the explosion, and we should remember who's died in the explosion as well and what's happened since then also. And what I've learned is pretty important.
On this street, Room Street, was the site of the Richmond School. It's been really inspiring. I think we've had a lot of motivation to sort of, we didn't know exactly where the project was going to go or how in depth we were going to go with it, but because of their interest, we've sort of taken things a lot further than we have. And really, it's as a school, there's a lot of excitement around the Halifax explosion, and clearly for these kids too. So I think we don't exactly know where it's going to end or what the end project is going to be, but we're going to keep going with our research and with our investigation of it.
I think it's important because there's a lot of people who died, and now it's very special to their family members when they look back and remember it.
I think it's important because it's history.
Tell me how much fun you had today.
I love learning!
In Halifax, I'm Barb Anderson for Eastlink magazine.
Thanks for watching this video. Eastlink TV is the home of community content. Make sure you don't miss any of it by clicking subscribe here.